Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Humans Make Games. I'm your host, Steve, and I am joined by Tony Munoz of Wulum Ltd. Tony, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and hanging out with me today.
No, thank you very much, Stephen. I'm very thrilled about this.
Good. So first off, Tony, we were talking a little bit about why we do our Humans Make Games segment. We really want to just get to know people that make video games. I think a lot of people that play have a desire to also make video games because it's part of our passion. We're like, man, I would love to be involved in a project like that. So I really enjoy getting to talk to developers and learn how they also started in video games because I think it seems like everyone has a different path. It's different for every single person that we've talked to. So, why don't you tell us, Tony, how did you get started in the video game industry?
Well, right now I'm 45 years old. So that was when I was 12 years. My dad gave me my first computer, which was an Atari 800 XL, and I was amazed by that thing. And I was starting to play interesting games there, and but then I realized with a cousin that he told me, you can't start programming, and I said, yeah, can I? Yeah, sure, I'll tell you how. So I started coding, and then there was that thing that I don't know how to express it. It was something like it blew my mind. It was something like, oh my God, I can create games. Of course, the first games were on basic and
Yeah.
they were really simple. It was like, I don't know, get a random number between 1 and 10. And then you put the number and no, it's bigger or it's lower or it's like that. It was so simple games. And then I created my own version of that thing, but for Back to the Future, and I create something like that, and that starts to grow on me, and then I have like a very dormant period of that because I get into the university, and then you got to study things that you don't like very much,
Right.
uh, but at the end, thanks to thanks to the revolution of the iPhone, there was when Steve Jobs made that presentation, I was like, oh dude, maybe this is my chance to get out of what I'm doing. I've been like coding since, as I mentioned, I was like 12 years old, but during my career it was like databases, websites, a lot of boring things. But at the end, I wanted to create games. It was like, okay, that was the origin of all this. So yeah, once the iPhone was released and Steam got into play, and you don't have to be the big studio to create your own things, and you just have to have a quality product. And I say, yeah, I can do that. So yeah, we started to do that.
Well, that's awesome. So, coding at 12 years old. So was it something like how did you learn to code at that age? Were you just looking for any resource that you could? Were you pulling games apart?
That's what's really the two things. In fact, the two things. I got lucky because my cousin, he was he has like 2 years more than me, and he was coding. If I started at 12, he started like at 8. In fact, my dad purchased his older computer, and he gave me a lot of information and manuals and everything that I needed to start coding. And every time I have a question, it was with him. Oh, I can't solve this problem. How can I solve this problem? And it was like that. It was, to be honest, it was like that. And then in the time of basic, when you get into the 5 and 3/4, I think five or half a disc,
Yeah.
and there was always a way so you can get into the code and you can play this game. I don't remember what button was, but I can get into the code and see, oh my god, this is how they solve this problem. Okay, let me see it. And it was like that. But of course we didn't have internet, so things were really really difficult for that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was where everything started.
I was going to say that right now, if I had a question, I could just probably go to YouTube and look it up and be like, oh, that's how you do this. So your
Yeah,
cousin was your YouTube at
that
the
was my
time then.
cousin. Exactly.
Yeah. He was YouTube before then. And also, like, and I guess that's something that I take for granted because also, like, I remember playing games like Myst that came on, like, I think it must have been like on eight 3x5 discs at the time, if I'm remembering that correctly. And you're right, like we didn't. You could just open up all the files and you could figure out what was going on there. And now it's you can still do that if you have the know how to do that. So it's probably a little bit different. So it's probably an easier way to start that way and then to get into that. So talking about those games, I almost said old games. I didn't want to, I didn't want to say that you were old or anything. But talking about those older games, do you have an old game that was like a huge influence on you at the time that really said, "This is what I want to do"?
Oh, I remember two games. When I think about that, I think that my retro games, and that takes me to Atari console. And yes, I play with Atari console. That was my first console, and I remember two games particularly that I loved in Atari. One was Adventure, which was a game where you're basically a knight that has to go through some places, and you have to get a chalice. I think I don't remember right now, but it was a quest. It was basically a quest, and of course you were just a dot.
Yeah,
That's the only thing. That was the character was a dot, and but I remember that game especially because it was the first time that the games has three levels. One that was really easy. The second was okay, more complicated, and the third one was with dragons, and you kill the dragons, and the dragons revive, and it was horrible. And I remember being a kid, and my dad was playing, and I was always getting anxious because my dad was he was playing with me, and he was
yeah,
saying, no, let's go to the dragon. I say, no, not to the dragons, it was fantastic. I still remember that. And the other thing that amazed me about that game is the creator that was Warren Robinet. He created the first Easter egg. I didn't know that, and it was fantastic. If you go to some specific place in the game and you pick that thing and you get to the end of the game, then you could see that he was the guy that created the game. And for me, that was, oh, this is fantastic, because he couldn't, by right, he couldn't say that he was the creator of the game, so he decided to put it on an Easter egg. And that was, oh, dude, that was really, really fantastic. And the other game, of course, like classics, is Pac-Man, of Toru Iwatani. 'Cause everything is, yeah, it's Pac-Man. What can I say about that one? And the other game that I love was Defender for Atari. Uh, a lot of action, and I love how it feels when you shot. And yeah, that's where everything started with these games. And yeah, from that to what we have today, even though it's we're moving in that same direction of the style of a retro with more, better graphics. But yeah, that was what everything started.
yeah. That's awesome. And you're right. We are seeing like a resurgence of the retro style, and I think like I am a huge fan of like the 16-bit era just because that's kind of like the era that I really came into like loving games was, Super Nintendo and that era. So and it's always and that's been an art style that I think, when you talk about the Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, like those art styles don't carry over as good as something as the 16-bit art era. And that's something that as you see more of them, you see things like Dead Cells, and those games that they're kind of using
Yeah.
that pixel art. And the game that you guys are making, Last Soul, it has, it harkens back to that era, but it also brings all the new things that, game developers have learned to those franchises that make them really unique. And also I think it'll make them so that they will kind of stand the test of time. I mean, there's a lot of players my age that are like, man, I would love to play that game again, but some of those systems are just a little bit older. We think about Final Fantasy systems like turn-based attacks from Final Fantasy 6, and you're like, I really love this art style, but man, it's really a slog to get through these turn based battles. So just kind of making things new is really cool.
Yeah.
And Tony, like looking behind you, you have a ton of memorabilia behind you, comics, movie posters. Like, how big
Yeah.
of an influence were comics and movie posters on you? Obviously, it's a pretty big one, but like, what got
Well,
you? What do you pull from those to make your video games?
oh, dude, I think it's everything. It's for me. It's having all things. Um, I think that it doesn't matter how old you get. I think you have to have a mindset. Like an innocent mindset to create games. You cannot be, I don't know, critic about what you're doing. Everything is possible. You get to think that everything is possible. I remember when I was a kid, really kid, it was like, I don't know, 7 8 years old. A friend of my mom asked me, what do you want to be when you're an adult, when you grown up, sorry, when you grown up. And I told her, I want to be a kid. And I remember that she smiled at me, but it was something like, she was like, that's interesting. And yeah, well, right now I'm a parent, of course I have my responsibilities, but you know I need to have a connection with that. And many of the things that you see here in my studio are gift from my wife, most of the things. And but of course, what is the influence for a guy, for example, like George Lucas? It's for me, it's, oh dude, what can I say? I That's the origin for all the geek that is inside me. Came from Star Wars, absolutely, from Star Wars. Robots. When I was a kid, Messenger Zeta, it was for me. Oh, that was the best robot ever. And yeah, those are the things that, in time, makes me to, okay, now I can create games. Now I can have all this knowledge that I have, and let's make it. Let's make games. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So if Marvel comes to you and says, Tony, you get to pick a character, like you get to make a game. Which character do you pick? If you
Oh,
get to make
that's
a game,
really easy. That character is Iron Man.
Iron Man. Right on. So you make an Iron Man game. Is it like a 2D platformer? What kind? If your dream video game that you can make of Iron Man, what would it be? We can hash this out. We can sell it to Disney right now.
uh, it will be a VR game. Absolutely. I think that everybody would like to have the armor of Iron Man and try to play like Iron Man and see, all the things in the virtual reality as the way that Iron Man do. If I have the chance to create a game, definitely it will be Iron Man and in VR. And yeah, that will be a fantastic. Well, there you go. Here you go.
Yep. There you go. You've got your arc reactor powering you right now. And I imagine as a building video games, you probably need a little extra boost from time to time from your arc reactor. So speaking
Absolutely.
of speaking of video games, Tony, let's kind of jump and talk about the studio Wulum Limited and the video game that you guys are making, Last Soul. Can you tell me a little bit about Last Soul, and then we can talk about how that project is going for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take you a bit about that. So Let's All started like 5 months ago, and it started like a story. I started to write down a story, and it turns out that the story was really interesting. I didn't know in that moment what I was going to do with that story, but at the end it was like, In that moment, I was doing hyper casual games, and I say, I think this could be a great starting point for a more formal game for platforms. And then I talked to Fernando, and I bring the story to him, and I asked him, what do you think? And he told me, I think the story is fantastic. So I think we should do this. So he's the producer right now of the game, and Fernando Mello, by the way. And he told me, can you do that in 1 week, in one month? Okay, can you have a demo in 1 month? I said, oh, dude, that was really difficult, but let me see what can I do. So it turns out that I did it in 2 months or something like that, because of course we all have other things to do, and but it was good enough for presenting. He wanted me to be quick on the process because we're going to have a lot of opportunities due to the COVID. The COVID has really bad things, but for the developers, it opens a lot of opportunities because there are a lot of people that wants to invest the money to create new games. A lot of people, because of course the all the money that they are making right now, it's insane. And so there was this conversations that we're going to have and events that we're going to have with investors, and I say, okay, can you do something really fast? So I did it. I did the first level, a level demo for the game, uh, where we can show the potential of the game, but it was not the story. So it's just the features of the game. And well, we talked with a lot of investors, and some, of course, they say, well, this is not the genre that we are interested into. But some of them told us, I think this is interesting, but you have to improve your art. And we were prepared for that because I did that, like, oh my god, like in 2 weeks. And they said, okay, fantastic. Okay, so call us back when your art is better, and we want to test the game. So it was like, okay, the close I'm sorry, the door wasn't closed. It was something like, show me more, and we'll talk later. So I think that right now we are in the very good level of aesthetic of the game. And yeah, we're just about to show it to the investors. And then from that point, it's going to take us around 1 year to have a final version of the game working. But of course, we are opening the doors to the players and the gamers that want to try the game in a demo state, which is very basic, and because we want the feedback from them. We're trying to do a game for you to understand. We're trying to do a game in terms of aesthetic as good as Katana Zero, for example, and we know that that's going to take time. But that's our goal. Our goal is to make a really good game. So, and again, where also there is a story that it was. I mean, this is a shooter game, but we want to create also a story where any human can relate to, and they say, when they finish the game, they could say, oh dude, this is a really good game, not just because of the action, but because of the story behind the action, and that they can say, oh dude, this was fantastic. I want to play the game again because this game was really awesome. So that's a plan. That's what we're trying to do with Last Soul.
Very cool. So, so is it kind of like an early access situation, or is it more just because there are some games now that are starting into early access and they've found a lot of success with that? Is that kind of what you guys are trying to do with the demos, or is it a little bit different just because it is a demo of the game? Or
No, in the case of that we have right now is not an early access. It's just a demo,
okay,
so we can show the people the features that we're going to present in the game, and to have some kind of feedback from them. Because sometimes you're working in your game and you have 10 hours a day or 12 hours a day, and everybody in the team is doing their best, but you are like in the fire,
yeah,
and sometimes you don't see some things that are, hey, for example, I ask my son or my daughter, which are 13 and 11, and hey, what do you think about this? Oh, you should change this. Oh my god, that's obvious. Yeah, how could I not think about that? And it was because you were in the fire. You couldn't see the things. So what we want is to translate that to the fans. Right now, we are having the support of the fans. Right now, we have 11,000 followers on Instagram, 5,000 on Twitter, and we have a lot of signups right now. So there is people that want to play the game and they express to us that it's very nice that when you're creating a game, to be open to the gamers, to ask for our opinion before launching the game. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, okay, we have this idea. Can you see it? Can you try it? Can you play the demo and tell us, give us the feedback, give us how we can improve your experience to make this one the best ever. So, and we want to try that in the early stage, not at the, when we're around 3 months to launch the game, because that will be too late. We were trying to do this in the early stage so we can make the fixings as soon as possible and then translate that to the rest of the process. So that's it. It's just a demo for trying and give us feedback about it.
Well, I think that's great because, like you said, you're getting that feedback so much earlier. Because a lot of times we always get those demos. They always say we want these feedback sessions, these demos of these games that are going to release in 3 months. But it's like, well, we know none of the feedback that we are going to tell you for these big studios is going to make a difference now because of their process of how they make the game and their pipeline. So for
Sure.
you all to get the feedback now and actually be able to implement that seems like a very smart way to make a game that your player base is already going to enjoy and want to play. So for listeners of the show, Tony, like where do they go in order to sign up to get that demo?
Oh, that's really simple. You have two options. In fact, you have several options, but the main options are to go to woolen.com, and immediately as the screen loads, you're going to have a section which said sign up to stay in the loop and gain access to the pre-releases apps. But that applies as well to games. So you just have to. We're not going to ask you for the name of your grandma or the age of your puppy. It's just your email. So that's the only thing that we need. You sign up and there you're done. And as soon as the demo is released, you're going to receive an email with a key code to access the game and of course to play it. And the other option is to go to Twitter and send us a direct message saying I want to play with this. And then yeah, of course we're going to ask you the same thing, which is your email, and that's the only thing. We only need your email so you can play the demo.
Oh, that's awesome. I think it's so simple that, you guys just seems like you've streamlined it in a way that you make it so anyone can get in there, anyone can sign up, and all you need is email. And I think we all have like 40 emails that we could use to sign up. So,
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about the story, Tony, or is that something that we're still kind of under wraps until we get
Oh
closer
no, no,
to?
no. I can't tell you the first part of the story because
Okay,
at the
good.
end you're going to see it at the beginning of the game. So this is a game. This is a sci-fi game, and in the story, there was a terrible AI war, and during the this war, um, the humans were of control of the AI, and they decided to create a bigger AI, which is called Cyberbeam. And Cyberbeam was an AI that took control of the rest of the AI, and they wipe up everything. And so the humans started a society, a perfect society, where everything was provided by this Cyberbeam. Everything. People doesn't have to work. They don't have to do anything. Everything was provided by Cyberbeam. And the problem was that the humans start to lost their soul. They were like zombies, not eating brains, but they were like zombies because they didn't have anything for what to fight or what to adore or love or whatever, to feel passion. So the same scientist that created Cyberbeam realized this, and he decided, he saw what was the error that he made, and he decided to create this hero of the game, which is called Bob. And Bob is a guy that is going to start like basically like a kid, and he's going to learn as the game progress, and what is his role in terms of saving the humans. And you're going to play like Bob, and you are going to evolve as the game progress. So I mean, the first version of Bob is not going to be the last version of Bob. And it has some kind of drama in the process as well. And but the thing is about that is what is the last soul? So maybe Bob is the last soul that we have in the planet. So that's why the title that we decided for the game was Last Soul, or it could be somebody else that Bob is going to save. So that's the things that our gamers will have to discover when they play the game.
Oh, very cool. I love that premise. That sounds like a lot of fun. So you'll be able to. You're not just going to stay as the same guy in the beginning. You're going to be able to evolve as the game goes on, and I imagine probably gain power ups and new abilities as you go on. Is it going to be kind of like a Metroidvania, or is it more just 2D platform? Um,
It's going to be more 2D platform.
okay,
But we have a lot of features that haven't been tested. Well, that we didn't see before, to be honest. And we're trying to combine them. And in terms of what is going to be like a different thing for the character and the powers that he's going to have, uh, we're pretty sure that there is going to be really really unique about it. So
Ve-
yeah.
that's awesome. I am excited to jump in and try the demo, and I hope all the listeners sign up as well and take the opportunity to provide the feedback. I know that a lot of the listeners of our podcast really enjoy providing feedback. They enjoy playing games, and they enjoy interacting with developers. So I think you all are very open to doing that. And speaking of your studio, Tony, how many people do you have in Wulum? Is it a large studio? Is it a small studio? How many people are
Oh,
working on Last Soul?
that's a good thing about being a small studio, that decisions can go really fast. So in our studio we're five people. One guy that is in charge of the concept art, which is Marcus Oriente. He's a fantastic guy creating art, which is really stunning. I worked with him before in other projects, and I was in love with his work. So we said every time that I have an idea, is going to Marcus and say, okay, I have this idea about I need this world with this kind of buildings or characters, and the characters should look like this one, but this one, and he's always going to the drawing and in Photoshop and delivers. The other guy is Mike Word, which is the pixel artist, fantastic guy creating art. I'm trying to do my best on pixel art and learning. I think pretty good, but always Mike is better than me, and yeah, it's a fantastic guy. Of course, is we have Fernando Melo, which is the producer of the project. We have Freddy Estape, which is the guy in charge of the music. What we're planning with the music of Last Soul is to have a complete band of at least 20 or 30 songs that people can also download. But the music could be so beautiful that people can say, "Oh, I want to, yeah, I want to listen to the music of Last Soul because it's really amazing." And well, I'm the guy which is closing all this, and I'm the guy to make the code and putting all these things together into the package that is going to be on the game. But I think, to be honest, that the most important people here is the artistic guys. They are the most essential.
Well, I think like looking at the pixel art that we have seen so far, because you guys have put out some pixel art of some like before and
Yeah.
after, and you can really see like even just the tiniest details kind of take those characters like up to the next level. And from the subtle changes of the lighting and how they move, like the pixel art looks beautiful. And so you
Yeah.
can definitely see the care that your team has taken into, if we go the extra step, not just settle for what we have now, but if we go the extra step, it'll look that much better. And it looks really good. I'm really excited. Like pixel art, even though it's so simple, you can do some of the
Oh yeah.
coolest complex things with it to really like have your imagination take over and fill in a lot of the holes for pixel art. And so far, I think it looks beautiful. Um,
And
and,
and you know what? There's one thing that has been great, which is that we show different versions of, for example, a character to the people in Twitter or in Instagram, and we say, which is the one that you like the most. And that's fantastic when people say, I want the number one, number two, number two, number two, number two, number two, number two. Okay, that's the number two is a winner. That's something that the social media has helped us a lot, because we can, every time that we get into a discussion, I like one, I like two, I like three. Okay, let's go to social media and let's solve that in social media. So it's fantastic with the people, having the contact of the guys that are going to be your gamers and say, I like this character. that's
yeah.
that's awesome.
And so, with the 5-person team and the pandemic that we've been having in the year 2020, like how has that process been? Were you a remote studio in the beginning? Were you guys meeting together before Last Soul, or has it been remote the entire time?
We always have been remote the entire time. In fact, we are distributed. Uh, we are two guys in Calgary, we are two guys in Edmonton, and there is one guy in Colombia. So it's absolutely, we are all over the place. So, and we just communicate every day about how we are advancing in every area, and asking to the others, hey, I'm trying to do this. How do I solve this? Oh, you can do this and this and this. And if you have to have a meeting, you don't have to take an hour to make a meeting. You can just go to Discord and say, okay, can I talk with you 10 minutes? Yeah, sure. Okay, let's go. And that's it. I think that has been fantastic, and that also shows to the investors that it's possible. Before COVID, many people was concerned about people working at home. It was like, oh, dude, this is not going to work, and the companies are not going to work. And some people that was about to make investments in you as a publisher, as an investor, they were always concerned about, okay, but how are you working every time on your side? You don't have a place where you are all working together. Well, we have proof that it's possible to work at home, everybody at home, and be even more productive than what we used to be.
How have you been able to balance your, you said you're a father. How do you balance working on games at home, being a dad, being a husband, and doing all of that stuff? Is it just, hey, I'm locking my door, don't bug me until I come out, or is it kind of like, you work here, you play here, work here, play there? How do you manage that?
Yeah, that's tricky, because one of the problems that I have in my life is that my work is my passion. So when your work is your passion, it's something like it never stop. It is always with you. It is always with you. I'm trying sometimes to disconnect, because I have to. I need time to relax and to clean my mind and to continue working. But it's something like, yeah, this is my place. This is where I feel happy, and that's what happened with the other guys as well. We are right now, before getting the publishers and investors, we're basically working on that with the time that we take from the away from the work, and trying to do something else, and moving on. And but they always do it with a smile, and that's fantastic, because this is a promise. This is just a promise in this stage. But all these guys, every time I meet with them, is with a smile. We're always smiling and laughing. Oh, well, what about it? We can add this, and that's fantastic. So yeah, it's difficult for me to move that between my worlds. But of course, my kids are, well, are the most essential part of me. So but it's good as well that they are gamers, so
Yeah.
that makes things even easier.
So, what video games are your kids into right now? What ages are
Oh,
they,
yeah,
and what are they
totally
into?
different to what I'm doing. Totally different. Yeah, the kids right now is like triple A, very high definition. My son right now is a Fortnite, geek. bad kick on Fortnite. My daughter is more, uh, it's more like she loves Undertale, for example,
Yeah.
and she likes like having characters, more small characters, and playing stories. She's more like that. But of course, she also has this time. Where is the I don't remember right now, but there's another games, AAA games that she always liked to play. So yeah, but they saw my game.
Yeah.
They saw my game, and they say, "Oh, that's looking really cool." They try my game, and then I told them, "Wait, why don't you use all the buttons?" And then they say, oh my god, what are these features? They're really cool." So yeah, if they
So
say so, and they're brutally honest, I think that we have a future.
yeah. And is that something like you're gonna hey, you should come try to help me make video games? Or is that like if they're into it, but you're not gonna like steer them towards or away if they want to become a video game developer?
Well, I've been working with them overall for the period of the COVID, because they weren't out of the school, and I tried to put them, to use their minds. So my son started to create coding on Unity. I told him, okay, these basic tutorials, and you can start there. And my daughter was starting to create models, because she's like another world. She started to create models in Blender, 3D models in Blender. And I say, okay, fantastic, guys, because for the time that I born, uh, I need to go to the university to have success. And times has changed dramatically. And today, as I told them, guys, you have these tools, you have internet, dude. And everything that you want to learn is there. It is on internet. And so I'm trying to push them, not because I want them to follow my lead. It is more like, this is a tool. You can work for that, and you can make money on that, and you can be happy. If you want to do this, great. If you want to do something else, great too. But it's not like my dad that was a doctor. Never thought about being a doctor, and but it was something like, oh, that's too complicated. No, this is not. You can't start learning coding 12 years old, 8 years old. Now there's the potential.
And I'm blown away that most of these tools are also free just
Yeah.
to start using them. Like you don't have to pay, the thousands of dollars that you used to in order to download these programs and just start learning. It's amazing how many tools are out there for people to start learning on. So I think it's pretty awesome that, anyone can really just pick up. And like you said before, you've got the internet, you have tutorials, you have free tools. Like if you want to do it, you just have to carve out a little bit of time and learn something new. So
Yeah,
Tony,
absolutely.
I what am I trying to say? I wanted to thank you for taking your time out of the day to talk to me about Last Soul. I think again, it is always so cool when developers are open with players. I think it creates better communities. I think it creates larger communities when developers are open and willing to have that dialogue. I think unfortunately, like that really only happens to that extent in the indie department because I think indie devs are more open to getting that feedback. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like the AAA department is there. They're always so locked down under all these different legal constraints because of publishing deals and all that other stuff. So being able to talk to, smaller teams that are excited to talk about their game, excited to be working on their game because it's something that they're creating, something that they love. I always enjoy that because again, it goes back to, our why we love talking to developers because humans make video games and everyone has a story. And again, it's like fun to talk with you about, about comic books and the things that, made you into the developer you are now, from a cousin teaching you how to code and, pulling apart old Atari games. I'm sure when you were playing Adventure, there's that meme going around that's like, oh, these are the most realistic graphics I've ever seen. And, and in Adventure, it was only a block at the time. And you
Yeah.
see the stuff that we have now, but Video games have a power
Yeah.
to take us to different worlds, even if it was just a block. Even
Yeah.
if, you are just playing Pitfall and, the alligators look like, tiny little flat shoes playing Pitfall, they have a power to transport someone. And, we all need a little bit of transportation in 2020 away from everything that's happening. And video games give us that. So I am always very appreciative to developers that take the time to work on these games, because it's not easy, right? Making
Yeah.
video games is hard. We hear that a lot, and you can see by all the articles when bigger studios talk about crunch and developers, just sleeping at studios so that they can make things work, and developers that are willing to do that because they believe in the project. And it's something that sometimes we take for granted as players, that hey, we pay our $60, we say, hey, this was really fun, thanks for it, while developers are trying to catch their breath after crunching for a year and a half on a game. So and you probably hear a lot, but as a consumer of video games, I want to say thank you for all your hard work on the things that you
You're
do,
welcome.
because I definitely think that you all deserve the credit for putting in the time for creating these experiences in people, because it's not like movies. Like, movies can give us a little bit of escape for a couple hours, but
Yeah.
video games give us, for me personally, it's always something that play a game and then I'm just thinking about it, for hours afterwards, how it
Yeah.
impacted me, like, the story beats, the art and the music that went into these things. It's not a small thing. So
Yeah.
sorry, I usually always just like start rambling on at the end of these interviews, because I just, I'm very appreciative of all the work that developers put into the video
Oh,
game.
thank you,
So,
man.
Tony, I really appreciate it. Do you want to one last time plug Last Soul and the website where people again can go in order to get into the demo so that they can give you feedback?
Yeah, of course. Well, the first option is to get to wulum.com, wulum.com, and just leave your, you have a space where it says sign up to stay in the loop and gain access to the pre-release. Just leave your email there, or you can go to Twitter, which is at Wulum Games, and you can send us a DM, direct message with your email, and we'll handle the sign up for you. And as soon as the demo is released, you're going to receive your key code to download La Soul, and of course, we'll be waiting for your feedback to see how we can improve your experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony, very much again. And everyone, please go do that and support indie developers and get your feedback heard. So, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in to Humans Make Games. And remember to please be kind to each other.
Thank you. Bye.